They have all placed themselves into the grid. Nico Müller will be starting from pole position. Just going to wait for a bit of the smoke to clear from some of the burnouts the drivers have been put on here as we get ready for the 2026 Miami E-Prix. Season 12 of the ABBFIA Formula E World Championship is about ready to go, with Nico Müller on pole, Felipe Drugovich on for the front row of the grid for the very first time in his career. We are racing here at the Miami International Autodrome for the first time in Formula E. And it's a great start from Nico Müller from pole position. A bit of a look to the inside from Felipe Drugovich as he's trying to send his way through. And they're all going out a little wide at the opening corner. Drugovich has got alongside Nico Müller as they work their way into turns 2 and 3, but cannot find his way through on the pole sitter. So Nico Müller will continue to lead from Drugovich, from Nick de Vries, as they all skate around the circuit. Straight into attack mode though comes Felipe Drugovich. He's taken 2 minutes of it, cost a single position as he scoops back down the inside of Nick de Vries, finds his way through in a second spot again. It was a valiant attempt at defence from Nick de Vries, but it didn't matter. 350 kilowatts and a feisty young Felipe Drugovich. The Brazilian worked his way back through.
That could be very, very decisive when it comes later in the race. Getting that attack mode in earlier when the overall pace is lower with the wet weather could be paying dividends when that 6-minute use, the 2 minutes of course him being activating at the moment, could be crucial at the end of the race.
And for the first time in his career, Felipe Drugovich has taken over the lead of an ABBFA Formula E World Championship race. He's gone a little bit deep at the final corner, but it doesn't matter because he's still got the power. He kicks it out and he will continue to lead. Before we went live, by the way, I will say, Saunders Carmichael Brown did say that he reckoned the winning strategy when it comes to attack mode might be 2 minutes and 6 minutes, if I remember correctly. Well, he's just taken 2 minutes. Could it be a winning strategy?
Just hand things over to Felipe Drugovich now to prove me wrong or right. But one thing we know for sure is, even though it is 2 minutes with just under 1 minute remaining of that first attack mode use, look at him pull away. He's creating a big gap now with Müller behind, and that's because of the all-wheel drive you get with attack mode. That extra grip in wet weather is paying off big time.
Yeah, his lead is 2 seconds now for Felipe Drugovich. He's just skipped over the inside though at turn 7, as has one of the Envisions. So I'm going to assume that was Ericsson who skipped over the inside a little bit there as he tries to drag himself side by side with Taylor Barnard and does indeed keep himself alongside. You might have heard a few more drivers go into attack mode. Nico Müller has gone into attack mode. He's got 2 minutes of it. Nick de Vries from 3rd position has gone into 4 minutes of attack mode. We'll have completed 6 laps this race. We'll have 33 at the line by the time we get there, and already going on the attack further down the order. Mitch Evans is trying to steal away 6th position around the outside of Taylor Barnard at the final corner, and he is going to steal that one away. The Jaguar TCS Racing driver now runs himself in 6th position. The order of the top 10 very quickly is Drugovich, Müller, de Vries, da Costa, Ericsson, Evans, Barnard, Cassidy, Maloney and Wehrlein.
And Pascal Wehrlein, also another driver in attack mode, opting for 4 minutes as half of the total attack mode usage via 2 activations that can be done in this race. Splitting the strategies between the 2 Porsche drivers. Let's see how that works. Very
curious as to what's happened to Ollie Rowland. The world champion started from 14th position, but he's dropped to the rear of the field. And in fact, not only just the rear of the field, he actually sits 1.7 seconds off the back of Sebastian Buemi. Not sure as to what's happened to the number 1. Either way, he is off the back. In the mid-pack, there's a bit of a tight fight. Nick Cassidy sits in 9th position, someone who goes so well when it comes to tricky energy management race. He sits in 9th position at the moment, just ahead of Zane Maloney. Pepe Marti's behind that, Norman Nato, and then Jean-Eric Verne trying to make the progress. The race lead, though, has been closed down after fastest first sector and fastest second sectors come in from Nico Müller. Felipe Drugovich leads by about 0.8 of a second as we complete the 7th lap of the race. Big slide off the rear end of the corner from Felipe Drugovich coming out of that last turn, and Nico Müller will sweep his way back into the lead of the race.
While there is still water on the track, one thing we need to be mindful of as well is being in the slipstream of the car in front. What you want to be doing in, let's say, quote-unquote pack racing like this isn't as useful, because you're getting that spray coming off the surface. It's going to mess up your vision, it's going to mess up your stability, your balance and everything. So there is less opportunities to save energy in the slipstream. So they have to be smart and do it in other ways. And that's where experience, I think, pays off. So you look at that top 3, Nico Müller, Felipe Drugovich, Nick de Vries. There is a sandwich of experience with a rookie filling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, straight around the outside now comes Nick de Vries. So he's managed to pick his way past Felipe Drugovich. But do remember that Nick de Vries is using 2 minutes more of attack mode. He's still in attack mode. He's got 1 minute and 15 seconds left to go of that attack mode. Nico Müller is leading here at the 2026 Miami E-Prix. It is then de Vries, then Drugovich, and then Ericsson, who's using his attack mode to work his way up the order. He's in 4th position again. Another rookie driver. Big slides coming in from Nico Muller, and the all-wheel drive of Nick de Vries's Mahindra will fire his way into the race lead. He's got the inside for the opening corner, and by the time he got into the braking zone, he's already completed the pass. So it's de Vries leading from Muller from Drugovic. Ericsson is still hanging on in 4th position, keeping Pascal Wehrlein at bay, who's just got past Antonio Felix da Costa and now runs in 5th position. So Pascal Wehrlein's gone from 11th up to 5th in the opening portion of this race. There is chaos, though, behind all that, as about everyone's fighting over 9th position. You've got Nick Cassidy, Zane Maloney, Pepe Marti, Edo Mortara and Jean-Eric Vergne.
Drivers looking very interesting when it comes to energy. We look, Antonio Felix da Costa around about 2% up on energy from the 5 drivers ahead of him currently, which shows that he's managing energy very well in this race, which is going to be crucial when it comes to the end.
Yeah, Pepe Marti is trying to get past Jean-Eric Vergne, who's gone into attack mode, and oddly enough has taken 6 minutes, the Citroën driver, obviously taking an awful lot. He had a bet with Nick Cassidy at the previous round about he was going to win a race and whatnot, and Nick Cassidy said, well, not me, and then he did win, and then Jean-Eric Vergne shaved his head. That was the bet.
Good sport for doing it.
Great sport for doing it. They're both very aerodynamic this weekend at the 2026 Miami E-Prix.
Looking pretty bunched up around the hairpin as Jean-Eric Vergne makes a move on Lucas di Grassi and completes it.
So tricky in that mid-pack as they all jostle for position. There's quite a lot going on. Jean-Eric Vergne's got past his teammate Nick Cassidy at the opening corner. That was most likely a call from the team to be like, look, Jean-Eric Vergne's coming and he's got more, he's got attack mode, so let him through. So Cassidy drops back down to 10th position. Jean-Eric Vergne now runs in 9th. Edo Mortara in 11th position, having risen up from 16th on the grid. Zane Maloney also in there, dragging along the Cupra Kiro of Pepe Marti. At the moment, the front end of the field, though, with still 30 laps left to go, 9 complete. It's Nick de Vries leading by half a second over Nico Muller. A second off the back of that is Felipe Drugovic. Joel Eriksson is closed up to Felipe Drugovic, by the way, and he's got 4 seconds left to go of attack mode that he's currently in. Could find himself moving up into a podium position for the Envision team. Sits in 4th position, though, for now. And it's Pascal Wehrlein, Antonio Felix da Costa, Evans, Vergne, Bernard and Cassidy, the top 10.
It's looking fairly civilised as things stand, as expected in races like this. But as the circuit dries up and we get a bit more understanding, a bit of a crunch there between 2 vehicles. Let's have a look at that. See, let's have a. What happened there? Do you see that?
I think it was Edo Mortara into the back of Cassidy slightly, and there was some. There was definitely a little bit of carbon fibre that was flung up into the air, and it could have come from the front wing of Edo Mortara.
Just as I was saying, things were looking civilised. They just had to go and spoil it for me. But no, the point being made is that there will come a point, usually around, let's say, 15 to 20 laps, traditionally on circuits like this, when all the targets are hit and suddenly it becomes flat-out racing. It's less about saving energy. It's less about putting yourself in the position you want to be, and then from then on, it's flat out. It's push, push, push. Get to the place where you want to finish the race, ideally at the top.
Nick de Vries has just relinquished the race lead as Nico Muller's been able to find his way through. But again, this is all done through energy conservation and such. They're all just playing games, trying to hit energy targets. Nico Muller is the race leader. Felipe Drugovic has actually come through into 2nd spot as he attacks the race lead. Nick de Vries is on the inside line of him at the final corner, but still Felipe Drugovic is able to keep him at bay, trying to wrestle those energy numbers. He's about 1% or 2 down, though, on the more experienced Nico Muller and Nick de Vries around him, so things aren't looking so rosy for Felipe Drugovic as his position might allude to.
And this is where experience really pays off in Formula E. That discipline that's required to save energy on fast circuits like this, or windy circuits, traditional circuits like this, where all you want to do is go flat out. Having that patience and that discipline, and also experience on how to maximise the regen, the regenerative braking, the energy recuperation that comes from braking in Formula E, is where it really pays off. And often you see where the more experienced drivers can make up the speed deficit they might have on any rookie drivers. In this instance, that being Felipe Drugovic.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of experience, look who's closing in on this battle for the race lead. There's 4 cars for the race lead: Muller, Drugovic, de Vries, Ericsson. And who's that knocking at the door now? It's Pascal Wehrlein from 11th position. He's closed in, and I was checking his energy numbers. He was pretty much bang on where everyone else is, and that is so impressive to see him run those numbers and keep us close. Even our timing graphics, by the way, are getting confused as to the new Andretti livery for this round, saying it was Pepe Marti taking over the race lead. It wasn't. It was the new yellow and black Andretti of Felipe Drugovich, who's found his way up into the front of the field. He makes the overtake at turn 1, but everyone behind him are getting the energy numbers. Everyone behind him is better on energy. Mitch Evans is 2.5% up on energy. He currently sits in 7th position for the Jaguar TCS Racing team. I mean, the Jaguars in 6th and 7th are looking pretty good on the energy numbers and the pace.
It's always races like this where that Jaguar powertrain does exceptionally well, and that goes to Envision as well, depending on the driver. But, you know, all those stats we have about Nick Cassidy, that wasn't done in a Citroen, that was done in a Jaguar-powered car. And it's that efficiency they can get from their powertrain that works so well in races like this.
Again, it was actually a really nice move at the opening corner, just a little bit deep on the brakes. I mean, there was an attempted defence coming in from Nico Müller, but it wasn't enough. It all kind of started at the final corner, and it was a really nice move played off by a driver in just his 5th race in the ABBFA Formula E World Championship. Felipe Drugovich will lead. Here's Nico Müller's radio.
So it's important not to compress the field, so if he wants to give up the lead, just go in front again. He should lose that much pace.
And that tells me that when Felipe Drugovich went for the move for the race lead, that he wasn't particularly fighting it, saying about compressing the field. The field is quite spread out, more so than we normally get here in Formula E. And like I say, I think Porsche probably sat there thinking, no, let's not bring too many people back into this. Some people that are struggling in that I wouldn't expect to normally. Ollie Rowland, I thought might have started making some progress. He's 5 seconds off the back of Jake Dennis. Jake Dennis is sat in 16th position. Ollie Rowland sat in 17th position. He's making absolutely no progress. Dan Ticktum's 14 seconds off the back of Norman Narton. There's clearly been some drama towards the back end of the pack, but I think there's a few drivers really struggling with these conditions.
I think the conditions, yeah, as you say, making it more tricky, but the further down the order you are, the more chaos you have to get through, and to do that you need to burn energy. And if at this point when it is more energy sensitive, unless you know you can do that in a very efficient way, sometimes it's better to bide your energy, get to the point where your target is push and changes to flat out racing, get your attack mode in, and then get your elbows out and move ahead, rather than running the risk earlier and using more energy than you might need to.
Yeah. Absolutely. Nico Müller is now attacking once again for the race lead. The pole position he got earlier, by the way, did move Porsche up a couple of positions in the championship. They were technically 4th coming into this round. They are now 2nd, courtesy of those 3 points that Nico Müller's picked up in the World Championship. But with how they're running today, 2nd and 4th at the moment. Nico Müller runs in 2nd, Pascal Wehrlein runs in 4th, and the championship leaders in the team's championship, Citroën, run in 8th and 15th. It does seem as though that Porsche at present are poised to take over that, but let's be honest, we've completed 14 laps of a 39-lap race. There's still 25 left to go and plenty of time. Felipe Drugovich is leading the top 10 quickly as Drugovich, Nico Müller, De Vries, Wehrlein, Ericsson and Da Costa, who's a little bit off that. The top 5's a group. Da Costa's off the rear end a little bit with his teammate Mitch Evans in 7th position directly behind. John-Eric Vergne for Citroën in 8th. Edo Mortara is in 9th, and Taylor Barnard runs at the back end of the top 10.
I think we're going to start to see things change quite dramatically in the next 5 to 10 laps. And then, you know, all power to you, because there's going to be a lot of lead changes, I think, and moving up the order. I don't think we can count out drivers like Cassidy. I don't think we can count out Rowland. I think we need to keep very, very strong eyes and ears on the 2 Jaguar drivers with that extra energy. Da Costa also being in attack mode, going for the 4-minute, the half use, as we hear Drugovich radio.
Follow you, and then we'll swap positions into laps to pull away from the others.
It's interesting. Now, this is the thing. Like, all these rookies, they go through. You know, your Formula 2. You know, you win Formula 2. That's one of the most impressive things that you can achieve in motorsport. To win at that level, and that is on the limit of racing every single second. You're pushing as hard as you can within the limits of the tyres. Then you come here and you have to play a very tactical game. It is the most tactical level of motorsport anywhere. There is no part of motorsport that has this kind of tactics. Yes, you've got Le Mans, things like that, where there are different styles of tactics, but nothing like this. And imagine actually being told, yeah, well, just give up the lead for a second because you need a little bit of energy.
It's quite hard, I think, for drivers new to Formula E to get their heads around, and it's also why that with, you know, other motorsports, Formula 1 being one, introducing more energy-saving characteristics, Formula E drivers' phones are exploding right now with everyone trying to find out how to do it, because it is that unique.
Yeah. I can imagine. Absolutely incredible. Here's a weird stat for you that just popped on my screen. Laps led this season. Nico Müller has the most, and not by a small margin. He's got 26 laps led. Nick Cassidy has 9. That is wild. Nico Müller has been at the front of the field quite a lot in the opening 3 rounds, to the point where I've said in the 2 rounds we had before this that it was obviously a big surprise that Nico Müller went to Porsche, that Porsche went for a driver like Nico Müller, knowing what they had before with Antonio Felix da Costa and Pascal Wehrlein. That maybe, was he going to be the right fit for the team? Well, clearly the team's the right fit for him, because it's working out brilliantly for him. He's showing some unbelievable pace.
The pace is there. The powertrain has always been very good in Formula E since Porsche joined, absolutely. But it's points and prizes and podiums, and yet he hasn't been on one yet. And that as a Porsche driver, and that's really where we need to understand and really appreciate how much strategy comes into Formula E. That's on-track strategy. It's not pit stops. It is doing the business within the laps on circuit when it comes to energy use.
Da Costa is in attack mode, and he's found his way up into the race lead. He's been in attack mode. He's used 4 minutes of his attack mode. They have 8 minutes to use across the race. It's obviously it's 2 minutes and 6 minutes, 4 minutes and 4 minutes, or 6 minutes and 2 minutes. He's used 4 minutes, so he has 4 minutes later on in the race. He's got about 33 seconds left to go of that, and currently is our race leader. The 2 drivers behind will have 6 minutes left to go of their attack mode later on in the race. I will say that Antonio Felix da Costa is using the final seconds of his attack mode to try and run away. He's built the gap to about a second over Nico Müller.
I would say one thing about da Costa. When I was doing some research, I was looking at other races like this, pack races, who does well. Da Costa actually has the record for the number of the biggest race climb in a race like this is 17 positions in Misano. Wow. In one race to go and win that. So he's phenomenally good at managing races like this, and I think where that comes from is he has an ability in similar circumstances like this to be able to battle while pushing, while saving. It's literally the triple threat of disciplines needed in Formula E. Not everybody can do it as well as seemingly da Costa can. And now he puts himself in first position, having used one attack mode, and he's level on energy with pretty much the entire top 5.
He has, however, just been handed a black and white flag for driving standards. That is just a warning, but he has been given a warning. Basically, when he was going side by side from start finish straight with Nico Müller, he kind of swerved over a little bit. Can't do nothing of it, but either way, race control. Marek Hanaszewski's passed out the warning to the Jaguar TCS team. Was that the round that he got disqualified from?
He didn't actually keeping the win, but on track it was the win, yeah.
Yeah, because Ollie Rowland, I think,
inherited
took that win.
Yeah.
And then the race after, I think he won 3 in a row afterwards. I remember looking at the stats thinking, I'm like, well, the record in Formula E is 3 race victories in a row. I was wondering if he might be able to do 4. But no, it's fine. We're waiting for someone to do 4. And it doesn't seem as though it's going to be happening this afternoon. Of course, our last race winner was Nick Cassidy, who has won 3 from the last 5. He has a lot of work to do from 17th on the grid at the moment. Into attack mode, by the way, Mitch Evans has been on the previous lap. So now he's working his way past Joel Eriksson up into 6th position. We've completed 19 laps. We have 20 left to go in the 2026 Miami E-Prix.
It looks like Jaguar have decided to split the strategy when it comes to attack mode. Da Costa going for the half and half. I think, was it the 4 and 4? Was it?
Yeah, it's 4 and 4, yeah.
4 and 4, whereas Evans has gone for the 2 and 6. And currently Da Costa leading first position. Evans currently down in 6th. I think there's going to be a lot of changes in the last 19 laps.
Do you know what? Don't rule out Evans here.
I don't think so, yeah.
Evans is... He's the joint most successful driver in Formula E with Sebastian Buemi. They've both won 14 races apiece. And if any one of them is going to go to a sole number 1 on the list, you'd have to say Mitch Evans is the most likely. He's had incredible form. I actually was talking about this pre-season. I thought he would pretty much one of my favourites to go and win this World Championship. The Jaguar powertrain's been really, really good. He's got a great teammate, Antonio Felix da Costa, and in attack mode right now, he's picking his way through the field. He's just got past De Vries. He's then just picked off Drugovic, and a big and early break into the opening corner from, I was going to say it was for a position, but Max Gunther is unfortunately a lap down at the rear end of the field. DS Penske not having a particularly good ride around this Miami circuit.
Mitch Evans moved up 6 positions now since the start of the race. That attack mode first use just coming to an end, or just come to an end. And I completely agree with you. I think he is probably almost certain of it in the top 5 when it comes to who can make the most positions up in races like this, alongside his teammate Da Costa. This is why I think we've definitely got to keep eye on Jaguar, as we've mentioned a few times so far. But looking at also the likes of Jake Dennis, looking, of course, at Nick Cassidy, and even someone like, maybe not today, Dan Tickton has done it in the past, also in Misano. He currently sits 19th, going backwards a position since the start of the race. But yeah, there are certain drivers that know how to manage races like this. And look, it's a fairly comfortable circuit. It's wide. There's lots of overtaking opportunities. So those drivers with energy, more energy than others at the end of the race, are going to be able to make up much more positions.
A few drivers, I think, have got some technical issue on the car. Ollie Rowland's one of them. He sits in 16th position, 5.3 seconds off the back of Jake Dennis. Nick Cassidy's now 5 seconds behind him. We've seen Cassidy further up the order. I think there is some problem for Cassidy's car. But also, I want to talk about, there's a big split on this field. Here's DaCosta's radio first.
Okay, Antonio, we've got one warning for track limit, turn 11.
And turn 11's a left-hander that goes out onto the back stretch extremely fast, and there's a little bit of oddities with the track limits with where the white lines basically are. He's got a lot of pressure from Nico Müller on the rear end. What I was going to say, though, is the top 7 are quite close. You've got DaCosta, Müller, Evans, Drugovic, De Vries, Wehrlein and Ericsson. And then there is a whopping 11.5-second gap back to Edo Mortara, Pepe Marti and Taylor Barnard.
The one thing I would say, when you're Joel Eriksson, he's down on energy, but usually when you've got the gift of space behind you, it's perfect for your attack mode strategy. It's actually the strategy that got Nick Cassidy the win in Mexico, was when he activated that second use of attack mode. He did it in space, didn't lose a position, or if he did, he was able to make it up very quickly and push on. So keep an eye on those drivers with space who still have the attack mode yet to be done.
Of this top group, though, is their strength in numbers. Remember, there's 7 cars in this top group. Now, if this is the battle group that ends up going on to fight for victory, and if there's no safety car and stuff, we've got 17 laps left to go. We do have 2 Porsches and 2 Jaguar TCS Racing cars in this group. DaCosta and Evans for Jaguar TCS Racing, Nico Müller and Pascal Wehrlein for Porsche. The rest of the teams are all separated. Felipe Drugovic there, of course, the rookie for Andretti. You've got De Vries for Mahindra, who's plenty experienced himself, a world champion before. And of course, Ericsson, another rookie for Envision. There is surely strength in numbers and experience with those Jaguar and the Porsche teams.
And it's sort of fitting, you know, with a race like this, we do expect those manufactured powertrains to be dominant and be more efficient than others, and it's proving the case. Here's DaCosta's radio.
Yeah, happy with where I am. 9% Yankee 9.
The only uncomfortable thing that I've got on my stuff is that those in 8th and below are about 3% up on energy than everyone up ahead. And the only thing that I'm sat there thinking, I'm like, have they calculated a different number? Because we were under safety car for the first 3 laps of this race. Have they worked out that the race is going to be 1 lap longer?
I mean, there's always...
But surely everyone would have figured out the same number.
Yeah, what it more likely is that the energy saving in the slipstream as it's dried up has increased, and the further it's exponential. So the further down the order you go, the more you're able to save. So obviously that extra benefit they have of extra energy will be used in making up those positions. Likely, it's more about the timing of when they go from energy saving to flat out racing, and when they use that crucial second use of attack mode to make sure if they do have energy up on those around them, that they use it when in attack mode and for position that they ultimately want to finish in.
Yeah, unfortunately for Dan Tickton, this season is not getting off to a good start. He hasn't scored in the last 5 races. It is going to be no different here, unfortunately, as he has come into the pit lane, I think, for a puncture or something in that kind of vein, maybe even to retire as Cooper Kiro. Another one of those teams is obviously home soil. You've got DS Penske, Andretti as well, home soil for those teams, and it is going to be a pointless venture over this side of the pond for Dan Tickton. Side by side for the race lead, though, it's Nico Müller and Antonio Felix da Costa doing battle at the front of the field. It's Nico Müller taking over the race lead at present. 15 laps remain here in the Miami E-Prix. The top 7 remain close, as we've mentioned before. It's Nico Müller now leading from Antonio Felix da Costa, Mitch Evans, Felipe Drugovic, De Vries, Wehrlein and Ericsson, the top 7. Behind all that, though, it's an 11.5-second gap back to Edo Mortara. Pepe Marti and Zane Maloney run in 9th and 10th position, fighting over the final points. And it's Sebastian Buemi from the rear of the grid to 11th. Here's Tickton.
So obviously that's done anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
I don't want to do that.
Well, let's do it.
Yeah, whatever. Waste of time.
Reminds me of when he was racing for Neo. He sounds a little bit dejected, a little bit not happy to be involved, because when he was VRT here as well. Obviously, it's been the same team that's kind of rebranded, going through effectively the same entry. But he doesn't sound like a happy boy. He doesn't sound annoyed, but he just sounds a little disappointed.
He wears his heart on his sleeve, does he, Dan Dixon? You know, regardless of what emotion it is, I think we all know what he's feeling at any time. And yeah, to have the performance that the Porsche has had when it comes to one-lap pace and capabilities this season, to not have scored any points in the Cooper Kiro, I think is very disappointing. And yeah, to effectively happen again now, being in 20th position, 55 seconds behind the leader, it looks like another no-scoring race for Dan Dixon. Yeah,
very unfortunate there for the British driver. At the moment, though, it is still Nico Müller at the front. There's been a couple of switches in the middle of this pack. Felipe Drugovich is trying to wrestle his way past Antonio Felix da Costa. Some breakaways are also happening, including a 1 second gap for the second to third. Mitch Evans ahead of his teammate Antonio Felix da Costa. I wonder if there's any maybe team games in there. Antonio Felix da Costa's been told to maybe back up Drugovich and De Vries.
I'd be very interested to see what...
Whoa! It's costly mistake from Felipe Drugovich. He's got onto the brakes awkwardly at the final corner and has pile-drived into the back, unfortunately, of the Jaguar TCS racing car of Antonio Felix da Costa. What has been an epic afternoon thus far for the rookie driver, starting from the front of the field. He's had to return to pit lane, front wing ripped off his car. I think he just locked the rears and went straight into the back of the Jag.
That is devastating for both drivers. What a shame. You know what? I think I need to see that again, really, to understand what happened. But yeah, that's such a shame for the rookie driver. It was looking pretty promising. He's up there.
Weirdly enough, Antonio Felix da Costa's car actually seems relatively fine. These cars are pretty strong from the rear end, as Felipe Drugovich has had a front wing change and now returns to the race circuit. 13 laps, already 12 and a half from where we are on the circuit left to go. It is still damp out there, but the rain's not coming down particularly hard, and so let's say there's still a bit of spray on the circuit, but it's just a little bit tricky on grip. And I wonder if he just got it wrong. Nearly getting it wrong was Mitch Evans in almost exactly the same way. As he was attacking for the race lead, he tried to get to the outside of Nico Müller going into the final corner and goes for the switch back on the run out of it. It is Mitch Evans now who leads the race ahead of Nico Müller, and then a big gap back to Nick De Vries, Pascal Wehrlein, Ericsson and Da Costa, the top six. Da Costa does still have a chance at this. He can close his way back in, but of course do remember they all still in this top six have one requirement of attack mode left to go, but there is a difference in what time they're using of that attack mode.
It is, and on the subject of that, Jake Dennis comes to the end of his first use of attack mode, up 4 positions from 15th into 11th. And currently have the fastest lap. The lap time's now looking in the 1:65s in attack mode. That's come down a good few seconds from the start of the race, Lewis.
It's certainly not done yet. There is going to be 11 laps at the line left to go, so still plenty of time. Taylor Barnard, interestingly, is using his second use of attack mode. He's the first driver to use his full allotment. You asked for a replay. We're about to be shown one now, and it's going down into the final corner for Felipe Drugovich, who just gets, I think he just locks his rear wheels and just slams the back of Da Costa.
Yeah, it looks like he tries to turn in there, as you said, rear wheels. Apologies, missed that radio from Da Costa there, but yeah, I think you're completely right with your assessment there.
Yeah, I think I can understand why Da Costa would be so annoyed about that. But this is one of the difficult things. This is one of the things we've said about this really hard to manage when you're a rookie driver is the fact that the cars ahead are probably going to be lifting off and regenning so early into a corner. Obviously, you can brake so much later, but then as soon as you're like, well, they're regenning maybe a little bit more than I was expecting, you get onto that brakes a little bit harder. You're just going to lock the rears straight away, and I'm sure Jaguar TCS Racing, Ian James and the likes behind that team, not going to be too happy.
It goes completely in line with what you were saying earlier about all the experience you learn from other categories of just being full, brake, full, brake, throttle. The idea of lifting and then braking and then maybe touching the brakes for a fraction of a second, which you would obviously do a bit more in other categories, you have to learn this, and it's so hard to pick up when you've got, I don't want to say bad habits, but other experience bringing into something so unique, and that the way the regen works with coasting in Formula E. And I think that was a prime example, as you say, of him not quite learning what he needs to do.
Yeah, just a bit of a shame there, but as much as it is going to taint a lovely afternoon for Felipe Drugovich. I don't think it should really stay in the memory too long.
No.
Accidents happen, mistakes happen. There was nothing malicious about it, and he's actually had a fantastic afternoon in qualifying and here in the opening portion of this 2026 Miami E-Prix. We've got 10 laps left to go, having completed 29. It's Mitch Evans leading by 1.5 seconds over Nico Müller. He started to put the hammer down a little bit as the Kiwi. It's De Vries in third position, then Pascal Wehrlein, Ericsson and De Costa, who are the top 6, all separated by 5.7 seconds in totality. Then about 7.5 seconds back is Edo Mortara, Pepe Marti, Sebastian Buemi, Taylor Barnard, the top 10. Behind that is Jake Dennis, De Grassi, Zane Maloney, who's just at the fastest first sector of the race. Ollie Roeder remains in 14th position with Jean-Eric Verne, Cassidy, Drugovich, Nato and Gunther a lap down. Dan Ticktum is out of the race, and we've just had an update from race control. A 10-second time penalty has gone the way of Felipe Drugovich. That is not a shock, but he's in 17th anyway.
Yeah, looking at the timings, it does seem like things are getting quicker, especially in attack mode. The quickest lap now, 1:06.3. It's almost a second quicker than that Dennis lap we just spoke about briefly before. That was set by Lucas de Grassi in attack mode, who just has recently taken Jake Dennis, actually now moving himself up into 11th position. There's still so many things that are going to change, and attack mode, that second use of attack mode and the length you have remaining is going to be so pivotal.
And Sebastian Buemi in 9th position. By the way, Sebastian Buemi in 9th position. He started from 20th. That is actually a great drive from the Envision driver. He's got Taylor Barnard directly behind, who is in attack mode, but he himself is trying to find his way past Pepe Marti. Sebastian Buemi and Pepe Marti, both of them haven't used any attack mode yet this afternoon, and we have 9 laps left to go, so they're running out of time to do so, but I get the feeling they might use their first usage on the next lap and do 2 minutes and then just do 6 minutes on the final run. So they're basically in attack mode for the entire final portion of the race. Taylor Barnard makes an absolute meal of the 11th corner going out onto the back stretch. Meanwhile, a fight for third. We'll see Nick De Vries trying to keep Pascal Wehrlein at bay. It is De Vries, then Wehrlein, and directly behind it's Joel Eriksson. It's a switch back to the inside of the opening corner from Pascal Wehrlein, but a defensive line diagonally to the apex from the Dutchman of Nick De Vries. They both run wide from the apex of the corner, and Joel Eriksson is rubbing his hands together, potentially at the opportunity of sneaking his way through onto his maiden podium in this championship.
It's worth noting to that last point you just made about who hasn't used any attack mode yet and have 2, maybe back-to-back activations. Oliver Rowland and Nick Cassidy also in that camp.
Fascinating as to where they're going to end up this afternoon, but there is such big gaps. I mean, Ollie Rowland's 30 seconds off the race lead. Cassidy is 53.5. Definitely a problem on his Citroen. Both Citroens, by the way, Chav's leading team running 15th and 16th in this race. Their opening foray into the ABBFA Formula E World Championships that seem to be working out so well here, at least at the Miami E-Prix. I
think one thing we know about Formula E is you can never, it's never over till it's over. And all it takes is for a safety car for those gaps to be absolutely evaporated. And if there is time to use both attack modes, after that, if that does happen, then you're sitting in a great position.
Absolutely. Well, we do have a few teams in attack mode. Pepe Marti has taken attack mode on the previous lap, by the way. Zane Malone's about to run out. Here's Mitch Evans, our race leader.
Still 0.5% more energy than Muller. Doing a great job. Keep it up.
And he leads this E-Prix by 1.7 seconds. Mitch Evans potentially is putting himself on course to become our first driver to hit 15 victories and go #1 on the all-time winners list. I mean, look, it's been an incredible drive at the moment from Evans, but it certainly isn't done yet. There's 6.5 laps left to go, potentially plus an added lap or 2 after the safety car intervention earlier on, right at the start of the race before we even got going. But, and let's be honest, Nico Müller might think, I can close that gap down. He has closed it down by a couple of tenths.
I mean, he's got the deficit when it comes to energy, so anything more he does to close down is only going to put him in a worse position. He's also got 6 minutes of attack mode still left to do. So has Evans. De Vries behind only has 4 minutes. Wehrlein, currently sitting in 4th position, has just under 3 minutes and 20 seconds of his second attack mode done. At that point, he will just be flat out racing to the end. It'd be very interesting to see all of those drivers around him that still have a second attack mode to use, how that strategy has affected the Porsche driver.
Gaps are growing up and down the field as some separations are happening. 6 laps left to go into attack mode goes Nico Müller. He's got 6 minutes of attack mode to try and close down to Mitch Evans, who's not in attack mode yet. 2.4 seconds is the race lead at the moment. It is Evans leading from Nico Müller, from Pascal Wehrlein, who's also in attack mode, who's just at the fastest first sector of the race by a comfortable margin. It's Nick de Vries in 4th position, Joel Eriksson in 5th, Antonio Felix da Costa in 6th, despite that damage on the rear end after being clouted by Felipe Drugovich. The problem for him, though, is Edo Mortara is now knocking at the door for 6th position. Mortara in 7th, Buemi in 8th, Marti, and then Zane Maloney round out the top 10. Zane Maloney looking for yet another point in the AWFA Formula E World Championship. But our focus is very much at the front of this field, where Mitch Evans is leading by a margin that is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. Here's Müller on the radio, who's closing.
Struggling with the rear, but mainly on lateral traction.
Yeah, obviously very difficult to rest at this point of the race. I get the feeling that some of this might come down to some higher tyre pressures earlier on to deal with the wet weather.
Quite possibly, yeah. As we watch this battle of the Jaguar being hunted by 2 Porsches, if Müller can make this move with attack mode, Evans crucially has just gone into attack mode to use his remaining 6 minutes to just keep that gap out in front. If he can do that, he's done exceptionally well from the position where he started. But the 2 Porsches behind him are going to do everything they can to spoil this party, especially Pascal Wehrlein, who is level on energy, or in fact actually round about 1% up.
Yeah, this is, I say, there's so much left to tell in this race. Fastest first sector, fastest second sector comes in from Pascal Wehrlein, and suddenly very close to contact to the final corner, the final real braking zone between Nico Müller onto the back of Mitch Evans. Here's Evans on the radio quickly.
Okay, so it's just hit targets. We are still 0.5% more energy than Müller.
1.2 seconds is what separates first, second and third. Evans, Müller, Wehrlein. It is Jaguar TCS Racing taking on the giant of Porsche. We've got 4 laps left to go in the Miami E-Prix. Of course, Pascal Wehrlein was the driver who went on to win the Miami E-Prix just a year ago. That was at, of course, the Homestead Miami Speedway rather than here at the Miami International Autodrome. He's just lapped the driver that crossed that race, though, in first position, because Norman Nato for Nissan is now a lap down. As much as Norman Nato crossed the line in first place, obviously had that race win taken away from him, but I mean, it was a pretty good drive that afternoon. Unfortunately, he's not liking this circuit quite as much.
Yeah, that's not something you often see in Formula E, lapping, but things obviously not going very well for Nissan driver at all today.
I think a few teams have got the setup potentially completely skew if Norman Nato and the Nissan team might be one of them. Ollie Rowland's not exactly a million miles ahead. We have got the update from race control. It is 2 added laps, so we have 5 laps left to go from our current position. 4 minutes of attack mode our race leader still has, but obviously he's at the point of the race where he probably can't use every single bit of that 350 kilowatts.
He's doing exceptionally well right now, being level on energy, if not 1% up on Nico Müller behind, and just put in the fastest lap. Mitch Evans, this is his race to lose.
It really is. Pascal Wehrlein is a couple of positions behind in 13th position. He has 1% more energy, roughly. It's probably close to 0.5% more energy than Mitch Evans running in 3rd position. Obviously, Evans has 350 kilowatts that he can use at his disposal for the next 3.5 minutes. Pascal Wehrlein's used all of his attack mode. But the thing is obviously the more energy you have at your hand, the more energy that you can use, the more of your power, the more of your energy you burn. You've still got to manage it despite being in 350 kilowatts.
Yeah, it's a real balance. I think the main thing being that any lack of grip there still is on this circuit would be massively helped by that all-wheel drive of attack mode. So that being probably the more beneficial side in terms of grip and traction and cornering speeds, exit entry speeds. Mitch Evans, Team Radio.
Still 0.5% more energy than Müller. Gap 1 second.
That's just perfect target hitting. Mitch Evans hasn't dropped a beat when it comes to that.
And that is experience. That is absolutely him showing his experience in this championship. I mean, coming into this is his 129th race in Formula E. He's had 33 podiums, 11 pole positions, 14 victories in the 128 races before this. He has, though, just clipped a little bit of water, which just scares the life out of me just a touch. There is still some standing water around this circuit, and especially on those painted white lines that run around this Miami International Autodrome. They're quite white because you've got the white line, and there's quite a bit of a blue painted section, and then there's another white line. And if you're driving onto those bits, it can be tremendously difficult to keep the car pointed in the right direction. Grip basically disappears in an instant. Update on the Drivers' Championship, by the way. Obviously, this is very early in the day, but Cassidy would have 40 points, would still be the championship leader. Dennis and Red, I think it was, would be on 38 points directly behind it. Would all be tightening up in the title race, and Evans would definitely be throwing himself into the mix. 3 laps left to go at Miami.
Many drivers currently in their second use of attack mode. In fact, there's only 4 that aren't. So there's a lot of all-wheel drive out on that circuit at the moment. Expect to see more position changes in those that are close and bunched up together. And now looking at the top 3, Evans, Muller and Wehrlein. Pascal Wehrlein 1% up on Mitch Evans in the lead, 2% up almost on his teammate Nico Muller. There may be a call the Porsches have to make towards the last lap here, Lewis.
Maybe. I will say, I'm just taking a little bit of a look at Joel Eriksson as well, who's running in 4th position. His best result previously was 7th. That was at Sao Paulo earlier on this season, but of course he has joined us in the ABFA Formula E World Championship a couple of times, including in Season 7, where he did a few races with us. He did a couple of races in Season 10 as well, finished in 9th in one of those. He's not a million miles away from being on the podium. I don't think he's going to grab it, but I mean, a 4th place drive for Envision today would be absolutely incredible. There's some incredible battling as well happening behind him. Including the teammate of our race leader. Obviously, Evans, our race leader, is Antonio Felix da Costa, who sits in 6th position. He's got Edo Mortara directly behind him. He's got Nick de Vries directly ahead of him. Sebastian Buemi is also in tow in a battle with Pepe Marti for 8th spot. So there's a couple of fights happening in this. Jake Dennis is also dragging himself into the mix for the Andretti team. A big look to the inside comes in from Edo Mortara, who tries to fire his way past Antonio Felix da Costa at turn 4. That move does move the Mahindra driver up to 6th position.
Still a bit more movement to come, I think, here. These last strips of attack mode now being used to maximise it. 2.5 minutes left from Buemi, who's climbed up an astronomical amount of positions from the start of this race.
Final lap of this race in Miami. Mitch Evans continues to lead. 3 seconds he is now ahead of the Porsche duo of Nico Muller and Pascal Wehrlein. It looks nailed on. You're absolutely right. It's his to lose. One mistake and it's all gone. But around a second this in conditions like this, that mistake could be anywhere. But with a drive with that experience, it's not happening, is it?
Yeah, I've got to agree with you here. Mitch Evans has done phenomenally well today. 8 positions gained, exceptional strategy, patience, discipline, and this win looks like it could be his if he can hold on for just the rest of this lap.
It's the first time that we've raced at the Miami International Autodrome. It's not been a brilliant season thus far for the Jaguar TCS racing team. For Mitch Evans, who's had his struggles, he's not scored a single point. Remember last year where he won the opening race of the season and struggled for a whole load of races after that. Well, maybe he's trying to do that in reverse. Struggle at the start and build himself through the season. He sits 16th at the moment in the Drivers' Championship. Well, he's going to be adding 25 points to his name right now. And Mitch Evans is going to be a record breaker. #1 on the all-time winners list. It's Mitch Evans for the 15th time in Formula E, who will cross the line first and take victory of the 2026 Miami E-Prix. Incredible drive, great result as well, to be fair, for Porsche. Nico Muller and Pascal Wehrlein 2nd and 3rd. I mean, they are looking strong.
Porsche looking very quick in qualifying across the season. Now with two drivers on the podium, things well. Mitch Evans, what do we say?
Beauty. That's like boys. Hey girls. Well, that is P1. Well done, mate. What a turnaround.
That must feel exceptional for Mitch Evans. He's always been there in the championship contender since when he joined the championship. He's always looked competitive. Last few seasons he's been there or thereabouts. He's had so much disappointment where he's just come almost meters from being a champion, and now he's put himself into the mix to try and get there back again this season.
And not to be that guy, but I'm going to be that guy. Do you know what would have tasted almost probably as sweet as victory itself? He lapped his teammate of last year, Nick Cassidy. 16th position, Cassidy 1 lap down. He was the last driver to go a lap down. I'm sure Mitch Evans going past would have been like, shame to jump ship, isn't it?
I don't know what's happened there, but there's definitely going to be a story to understand of what's caused Cassidy's lack of pace there. But credit where it's due to Mitch Evans, and of course 2 Porsche drivers, Nico Muller and Pascal Wehrlein, completing our podium, and to Joel Eriksson also.
Great drive.
Rookie Envision driver, finishing P4. I thought we were going to get a radio there from Mitch Evans, but we didn't.
We've got a tag rate. It might happen at any moment. Clearly he's speechless in the Jaguar TCS racing car. That, by the way, will move him to 7th in the championship. I'm not 100% sure as to who has the fastest lap in the top 10, because the fastest lap in the race goes to Ollie Rowland, but he's outside of the top 10, so does not receive the bonus point for it. They're about to climb out of their cars. As they do, I'm going to read you through the results. The winner, let's try again with Evans.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that, boys, but thank you. You gave me a with it.
Yeah, let's remember this. I thought we'll use it again.
Mitch is in. That was absolutely textbook. Thank you so much. Well done, buddy. Bring it home. Let's go drink some champagne.
And for Ian James, of course, it's his first victory as team manager now of the Jaguar TCS racing team after heading over from the Neon McLaren, replacing James Barkley. So that's always a great story as well. But as I said, the results of the 2026 Miami E-Prix: Mitch Evans victorious ahead of Nico Müller and Pascal Wehrlein on the podium. Joel Eriksson, a personal best result, 4th position for him on the road. Nick de Vries in 5th, directly ahead of his teammate Edo Mortara for the Mahindra squad. Then it's Sebastian Buemi from 20th position up to 7th, Antonio Felix da Costa in 8th, Pepe Marte and Jake Dennis in the top 10. Behind that, Zane Maloney misses out by just a single position on yet another point. Ollie Rowland in 12th, and a disappointing day for Nissan. Lucas de Grassi and Taylor Barnard, just 14th position for him. Jean-Eric Verne heads Nick Cassidy 15th and 16th. Not a good day for Citroën, who came into this as our championship leaders on the team's championship side. Norman Nato in 17th, then Felipe Drugovic, who had fantastic speed all day, but ends in 18th position after clattering the back of Antonio Felix da Costa. Max Gunther, the last finisher on the road. Dan Ticktum, an unfortunate retirement. What do you make of that one, though, Saunders?
I mean, I'm just very happy for Mitch Evans, because he's had a bit of a roller coaster career in Formula E. He's been close so many times, as we've mentioned, and not to say this is going to change his story for the future or mean he's a champion this season, but just to see him back up there again and be able to pull off a race like that, where there's lots of different things that have to come together, things are looking good, I think.
Well, I'll quickly read you the top 5 in the championship. Nick Cassidy will head the championship lead heading into Jeddah, of course, in a few weeks' time. It's 40 points for him, 38 for Pascal Wehrlein, Jake Dennis on 37, 34 for Ollie Rowland, and Nico Müller on 33 points in the top 5. Our team's championship leader, that will be Porsche, 71 points, and now 27 clear of Citroën, Mahindra, and Andretti. Nissan down in 5th, but Jeddah's a very different kettle of fish, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Of course, double header as well. There's all sorts of challenges that come with that. Interesting circuit as well. I think you never know with Formula E. We can sit here and make predictions to the cows come home, but things change at the drop of a hat.
It was a masterful drive.
Well, we will quickly jump out of here. The 13th and 14th of February will be returning for the Jeddah E-Prix. Of course, it'll be a double header, so we'll have Pit Boost out in action as well. We'll see you then. For myself, Elizabeth Day, from Saunders, Carmichael Brown. Until the next time we go racing in the ABBFA Formula E World Championship, you've been listening to us on talkSPORT 2, on the talkSPORT Driving YouTube channel, and of course on the Formula E app. We'll see you next time. Until then, bye-bye.
Well, thank you very much, as always, to Lewis McGlade and Saunders Carmichael Brown for calling all of the action. You can catch all of the reaction from the drivers after the race on the talkSPORT Driving YouTube channel, and of course the Formula E social media channel as well. You'll see all the updated championship standings on the Formula E website, and you can watch the race back on demand on ITVX, and you can catch highlights from Monday evening on talkSPORT 2 as well. The next round of the championship means our first double header of the season in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Our second visit there in the Formula E World Championship, and it is sure to be a huge weekend. Massive musical artists, a lot on the line, and a lot of celebrities milling around the paddock. We'll be there to bring you all the action, both behind the scenes and live on talkSPORT 2. It's February the 13th and 14th for rounds 4 and 5 of the Formula E World Championship. Make sure you follow the talkSPORT Driving YouTube channel in the meantime for all of the action. Check out Nick Golding's great work at Racing News 365, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time for the FIA Formula E Jeddah E-Prix.